Welcome to the Fandom Academy episode 2. Today is a very exciting episode because last night for us, on Sunday for you, The Last of Us episode 1 dropped. And we are going to be talking spoiler-free and spoiler thoughts for episode 1 and a bit about what we can expect to come in the next episode. But before that, I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Jaiden.
What's up, guys?
And CJ.
Hello, everyone. So excited to get into The Last of Us.
And I am your host today, Laila. And I am just so excited to be talking about The Last of Us with you guys. I cannot believe it's finally here. We have seen the first episode, and I think the next 8 weeks are going to be very fun on Fandom Academy. But before we get into that, we have a little bit of Marvel news that we obviously want to cover for you guys. So we have received a new Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania trailer and some new posters. I know literally a few minutes ago, we got some new stills from the film that look incredible. And tickets go on sale today, which is really great. As you might know, we're all watching it together. So hopefully we get tickets sorted today and we will be seated in that theater on opening night together. And it's going to be great. So, the new trailer. What did we think? How are we looking at Kang right now? Are we Team Kang? Are we Team Scott? Are we thinking Scott's in some trouble? CJ, I'll throw it to you first.
Team Kang. I'm sorry. I'm going to be everything he does. I'm going to cheer. I'm going to standing ovation if we get a Wasp death. That man is my everything right now. I'm so excited to see Jonathan Majors in this role. He's going to absolutely kill it. And I can't wait for this movie.
Mm-hmm. Jaiden, what about you?
No, I agree. Kang is nuts. The fact that we're going to be seeing him in his prime, finally doing some Kang stuff and not just sitting in a chair eating an apple. That's going to be super exciting. And even just the parts that we saw of him actually using his powers and going crazy, that's going to be super exciting.
Yep, definitely. And as we all know, Jonathan Majors is a lovely looking man. And in that trailer, my favorite part was when he got those sleeves off and his arms are out and he is just going at Scott. I'm very scared of Scott, I can't lie. I am not fully decided if something's going to happen to him or if it's going to be someone else. I kind of don't want to think about it because I will get very upset. But I'm really intrigued to see if this will kind of follow on from the events of Loki. Will we see kind of the variant of Kang we saw? Will we see him a recap of him dying? Will it expand on that? Will it be another variant of Kang? How many Kangs do we think we're going to see? Do we think we'll see multiple? CJ, what do you think on that?
I think we'll definitely see a couple. I think we'll see multiple in Kang Dynasty itself. But I saw a theory floating around the internet, which I really like, that this time works differently in the quantum realm, that this Kang is actually the main Kang that's going to be there in Kang Dynasty. And when this movie ends, it's going to be right at the start of Kang Dynasty. There's the time jump. So the MCU is going to be moving forward while this movie's happening. I really like that theory. We're definitely going to get multiple Kangs. I'm excited.
Jaiden, what about you?
That was interesting. I didn't see that theory, but that sounds nuts. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, I think we're going to get multiple Kangs. I don't know how we're going to get them or when we're going to get them, but I feel like just being the fact that there are variants and so many of them, I think we're definitely going to see at least a few of them.
So we see a clip in the trailer of Cassie, and she seems to be getting released from a prison cell. Do we think this is kind of her following in Scott's footsteps? Are we going to see a kind of guilt from Scott? Is he rubbing off on his daughter? Do you think we're going to explore that?
Oh yeah, I think we're going to explore that, especially because, it's the end of his trilogy, I guess. So I think there's going to be a lot of emotional punches in this, not even just between him and Cassie, but just for Ant-Man as a character. I think this could potentially, I know there's a lot of rumors out there that this could be the end of his arc. I don't want that to be the case. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of emotional elements into this, just based off the trailers and because Kang is a so.
Yeah. CJ, do you agree with Jaiden?
I definitely think so. The parallels are 100% going to be there. And you hear him talk about how he felt like he should have been there more for Cassie in the trailer. Now he's trying to get that time back. I feel like that's going to be the basis of this movie. and like his emotional journey. I feel like there's definitely going to be some emotional punches. I don't think personally, I don't think anything's going to happen to him or Cassie, but I feel like he might learn that lesson through like Hank, because I don't know if Hank is safe at all. So there's going to be a lot of emotion in this film.
Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think there's going to be a death. I think someone is gone, but I am not fully decided who. I'm not convinced, it's going to be anyone at this point, but I just know when we sit down in that theater and it happens, I feel like even if we theorize about it, we're still going to be just 100% shocked and probably crying very hard. But yeah, so that's it for our Quantumania chat, unless you guys have anything you want to add, any theories.
I want to add one thing we didn't talk about. We talked about how Jonathan Majors is a fine man. I want to talk about someone who is not and looks very terrible. And that's MODOK. In this trailer, I'm sorry, it didn't look good to me. I'm not a fan of the look of MODOK. They could have done so much better. He looks so goofy. It'll be interesting to see it once the movie's actually out, but from the trailer, I'm not expecting much from MODOK in this film, to be honest with you guys.
Like, I almost don't know because remember way back, like months ago, when they first came out with like a MODOK concept, I think it was leaked, but it was like it was almost like a Decepticon, where he looked like he was just like this like bug in a chair. It was so weird. So this is like, I don't even know if this is a step down or a step up. I couldn't tell you, but it's either way. I don't.
No, it took me so long to realize that was Darren Cross from the first Ant-Man film. Like, I was seeing all these pictures and I was just looking, and it was just this funny face in like a helmet. I didn't even realize it was him until TJ and Garrett were talking about it on Agents of Fandom this week. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. It's not just a random man in a machine or however MODOK works. I don't even know. I don't know anything about MODOK, but now that we've seen him, I just want him to be like the joke of the film, and I'm gonna laugh every time he comes on.
I really hope he is.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued to see him with like a mask on. Does he wear a mask, a helmet? Like when his face isn't there, because on the Funko Pops, we see it's not his face; it's like a mask. So, do we think that's gonna look a bit better?
I don't know much MODOK from the comics. Does he wear a mask in the comics? Like, I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever seen him with one.
I don't think so. I think it's usually just like the big square face.
So I don't know if that's a way to help like make action scenes more CGI affordable or better, but I don't know. I have no trust in MODOK in this.
So, do we think it's going to be a She-Hulk situation? Like when the first She-Hulk trailer released, everyone was complaining about the CGI, but then it turned out great. Do we think it's going to get a little bit better with time? Jaiden, what do you think on that?
I think they have time to fix it, and I feel like we've all expressed that it should be to some capacity. So, we can only hope that they take that to heart and run with it. But who knows? With these things, it's a hit or miss.
Definitely. Well, we'll see in a few weeks.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to you on that.
Sure.
So, the Ant-Man chat is over. It is time to talk about the main event of the year, for me anyway. The Last of Us Episode 1 released last night on HBO, on Sky if you're in the UK. If you're like me and you're a bit insane and you did wait up till 2 o'clock in the morning to see it, it's here. We can enjoy it, even though it's not very enjoyable because it's very sad. But we will first talk about our spoiler-free reactions to the episode. I'll pass it to you two first, and then I'm going to scream a little bit. So, Jaiden, let's start with you. What did you think of episode 1 of The Last of Us?
So, I went into this, I know we kind of talked about this last episode. I went into this without knowing anything about the game, without having seen anything about the game, with only a plan to play the game at some point. So, that being said, this show is already shaping up to be one of my favorite shows, probably of the year. All right. So, and that's a lot considering it's only week 3, barely week 3 of 2023. So that's crazy. But this intro, gut punch. Half the episode,
big time.
several gut punches. I was crying. I was feeling so sad. But then when it was over, I was like, I can't, like, I was so pumped and so like I need more of The Last of Us, that I literally sat on YouTube until like 3 a.m. and watched gameplay and watched like the cutscenes. Like it was like another movie. So yeah, that was fun.
CJ, what about you? How did you find episode 1?
I loved it. I'm with you guys. It's easily going to be one of my favorite shows of the year. I kind of tell from this first episode. I'm obsessed with the vibes of this show. It's generally unsettling at times. Like, I was terrified for the first half hour of this film. And it's emotional too. I agree with you, Jaiden. There was crying for most of this episode, like ugly sobbing. It's so good. I need more. When that song hit at the end, that needle drop, I was just ready to run through a brick wall. I need more of these episodes now.
Yeah. And that's what I'm finding interesting about covering this with you guys, because I've played both the games. I know, Jaiden, you watched a bit of gameplay last night, but you're going into this mostly blind. So I'm very intrigued to see like our different reactions to the episodes, because obviously I know a bit about what's coming. You guys might know bits and pieces, but there's still a whole story to get through. Like, how much do you guys actually know? And what are you excited to know nothing? Are you wanting to look into the story more now to be more intrigued as to what's coming? CJ, what do you think?
So most of the stuff I knew going into the show happened this episode. Like, I knew a lot of the stuff that happened. So I was like, but now going forward, I know nothing. Like, I literally know nothing. I'm excited to see more of the enemy, the clickers, what they are all about. And I'm excited to see what's next for Joel and Ellie. I'm obsessed with both of them.
Jaiden, what about you?
Yeah, so like last night, like I watched a little bit of the gameplay stuff, and so I have like a general sense of the direction that we could possibly be going in. But other than that, it's up for grabs, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited to have an idea, but also not know anything at the same time.
Yeah. And I'm really excited to see our different reactions, because I'm just going to be sat here all smug every week. Like, so what did you guys think? Like, come on, what's going to happen next? Like, I'm so excited to hear your theories about it and just kind of sit here and be like, okay, I'm not going to confirm or deny. Like, good for you. But I loved episode 1 so much. I've been waiting for this for so long. I said this last week, but I remember the day Pedro got cast as Joel. I remember the day they announced they were adapting the game. I remember, the first pixel pictures we got of behind the scenes, and you can not even make Pedro out, but everyone's like, oh, he looks so good. And you couldn't even see him. And we've come so far. And I think Pedro as Joel has the potential to be his favorite character that he's ever portrayed. I've only known him for an hour and a half, but I would die for him. And I think him as a young Joel was just so perfect. Him adding to his single father cinematic universe and his relationship with Sarah, wrecked me. But it was also like, that is my father right there. And him, like the switch, the 20-year gap to seeing him as young Joel to present day Joel. That gray in his beard, I was distracted the entire episode. I was barely paying attention to what was going on, because I was just staring at him like, oh my god, like, wow, they made you look so good. And the first time you see him in the episode, okay, we're talking spoilers now, by the way. Spoilers for episode 1 of The Last of Us. I should probably have mentioned that. But like, the first time you see him, he is shirtless in bed, and nothing could have prepared me. Like, it was 2 a.m. Like, I was trying not to scream the best I could. I was just there like, oh no. Like, this is where
takes a screenshot, zooms in a little bit.
I was like, okay, this is where we're at. This is the direction we're going in. But, like, I was excited to see that. But then it's just, I knew what was coming with Sarah. And I was just on edge the whole, like, beginning of the show after the creepy intro, which we'll get into in a little bit. But obviously, knowing what was coming with Sarah, it was so heartbreaking, because you were just seeing Joel and Sarah and Tommy be this family, and Sarah and her neighbors just being like, not besties, but like vibes. And Sarah was just so cute, and I loved her so much. And just knowing what was coming was ripping my heart out. Like, yeah, I struggled with that one. I cried a lot. I actually had to pause after the scene because I was just uncontrollably sobbing. Like, I was like, I can't go on like this for the rest of the episode. I need a minute. So, CJ, I'll pass it to you first. Did you know Sarah's death was coming? Were you prepared for it? How did you react to that?
So I knew Sarah was going to die. I knew how she was going to die, but I still was sobbing. The scene was done so well with all the long takes, the long shots, like the motion shots where they're following Sarah as she runs through her neighbor's house, runs to Joel's car as Joel's screaming to get in the car. That all of that was so good. The whole scene was so stressful. I was on the edge of my seat. Very tense. The music was great. And when that emotional punch of her death finally comes and she's on the ground, like crying, scared, and Joel's just trying to save her, it's emotional damage, like trauma for years.
Mm-hmm. Jaiden, what about you? Did you know it was coming?
I had zero clue. Not a clue in the world. And you want to know why? Because, again, I went into this not seeing any gameplay, right? And I see her, like, picking up the knife. I'm like, oh, she's about to grab that and she's about to use that, like, cut some motherfuckers up. And then, so I was confused as to why. I was like, yo, go grab the knife. I'm thinking she's going to go back for the knife at some point, but she just doesn't. And then, they go through town, they do their thing, and then she ends up dying. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I literally was so upset because I was ready to follow her through the series. And then they said, nope. Pull the plug.
It reminded me a lot of Game of Thrones, how they introduce character you'll really like just to kill them off in the same episode. I hated it. I hate when they do it. It always destroys me.
Terrible.
Yeah. And so much of that sequence between Joel and Sarah at the house, Sarah giving him his watch for his birthday, all up to the drive in the car with Tommy, Sarah, and Joel, them driving through town, was directly cut from the game. Some of the dialogue, my favorite line that was delivered in that episode was the drugs. I sell hardcore drugs. Because that is cut exactly from the game, and you know that Sarah is this amazing character. And when they're driving through town, they see one of their friends like farms on fire. There's people on the road with a kid that they want to pick up, but Joel is like, no, keep driving. And the highway being full of cars, and they're just trying to get out, and all these soldiers and the explosions, and Sarah hurting her ankle. It was just
the planes too.
The planes, it was insane.
Crazy.
And just watching that, I was like, oh no, I'm getting deja vu in the worst possible way because this hurt me so bad in the game. And here we are watching this in live action. It was a lot. And just seeing where it went from there, the actual scene of Sarah dying in Joel's arms was so accurate. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen, but there's videos on Twitter of like them putting the scene from the game next to the scene from the show. Mm-hmm. And it's just like exactly the same. And yeah, that was the first of many gut punches that we are going to get in this series that I know for sure. Another thing we want to talk about is the intro to this episode because, wow, I was so confused when I turned it on. I was like, is this like a HBO advert? Like, what is this going on? But it's just these like scientists talking about the infection, and it was so eerie. Like, you see the host, his face just keeps dropping and dropping as these scientists are talking. CJ, what did you think of that intro, and how did that set up the episode for you?
It was so unsettling. I mean, even the vibes from the 60s, like the brown and orange color tones of the scene contributed to it. And the way, the facial reactions and the talking about fungus and how it eats humans alive and all that stuff. Just really unsettling and definitely set the tone for the first half hour of the episodes for sure.
What about you, Jaiden?
I felt genuine fear. Like sitting, cause I was sitting in this dark basement alone talking about how fungus is just going to take over the planet and you're just going to be empty shells of yourself. I'm just like, what? Like, I got so many goosebumps watching that. And then to just go right into like The Last of Us, like the theme, yo, that was sick. That was so sick.
Definitely.
The theme is so good too. In the intro.
So good.
So good.
It's just
oh my God.
Visually pleasing. And the music, the chills I got from that theme, I was about to cry. Another thing that really creeped me out this episode, an obvious one, was the old lady. I really can't remember her name. The neighbors. And when she has like the stuff coming out of her mouth after she's infected, and when she sat in the wheelchair, like
having
twitching,
the seizure,
like behind Sarah, and you just see her in the background. You're like, oh my god, get out of that house! Like now, like you're just screaming at your screen, like get out! Like
literally.
That was the most fear I've had like ever. And you know when Sarah steps in the blood, and it's just like, oh no, like this isn't gonna go well. This is it. This is where it starts. Yeah, I didn't.
And the dog.
The dog. I was scared for that dog's life.
I know. When that dog ran away, I was cheered for that dog. I was like, you go, get the hell away from there.
Then obviously we skip after the very emotional scene to 20 years later, and we are introduced to Tess, played by Anna. I cannot remember her surname, but Anna is an amazing actress, and Tess in the game is such a badass. And I was so excited for everyone to meet her. We meet her in this interrogation scene. You know that she's just the hard as nails character. What did you guys think of Tess? Jaiden, I'll throw it to you first.
Tess, just like you said, I thought she was badass. I thought she, adapted very well to this whole new environment, and she was like, kind of taking the reins a little bit. And I feel like Joel needs that, and they kind of work together. So that's really cool. And just kind of seeing their dynamic together, I thought was.
CJ, what about you?
I agree. I think she's super cool. I'm excited to see the dynamic between her, Joel, and Ellie. I'm obsessed with every character in the show, to be honest with you, and they're all awesome.
Yeah. And also seeing, like Jaiden touched on, the kind of relationship between Tess and Joel. We're introduced to it very quickly in the game, and it's just kind of assumed that it's a romantic thing. However, in this episode, we obviously see kind of Tess comforting Joel in a very intimate way, like while they're in bed, and just the way that they care for each other, and Joel kind of cleaning Tess's face up when she comes home. And, Joel's been through some shit already, in his life, and we see him having maybe a drug problem, and we see, the struggle of a man who is grieving the loss of his daughter and just the loss of the world, I guess. And just seeing Pedro in that role ruined me. Like, I was there like, someone just needs to give this man a hug. Like, my poor guy. And how do you think kind of the journey that Joel's embarking on, obviously with Ellie now, how do we think his grief is going to affect this story? How do we think it's going to come into play? Do we think there's going to be parallels between Sarah and Ellie? The way that Joel kind of becomes, or we assume becomes, a father figure to Ellie? Jaiden, what do you think about that?
So I actually stayed after the episode, and they did like a little behind the scenes sort of thing. And I thought it was really cool. So there was actually a parallel between when his daughter had died, Sarah, and when that, the soldier was pointing the gun at him and Ellie when, 20 years later. And so it was almost like that animal instinct they were talking about, how, he didn't get the chance to stand up for his daughter and protect her and save her life. So now being in this situation with Ellie, he goes absolute animal mode and beats the living crap out of this soldier, right? And Ellie's over here like, yes. So like, you don't mess with me, bro. And that's when she knew. And that's when we all knew that this was just going to be an amazing ride. Craziness.
Yeah. CJ, what do you think about how Joel and Ellie are going to turn up together?
I feel like by the end of the series, they're definitely going to be really close. But I feel like Joel might be a little bit distant at first because he remembers what happened with Sarah and how bad that hurt. So I feel like at the beginning, it's kind of going to be like a pushing her away type deal. But we all know by the end of the show, they're going to learn to love each other, and they're going to be like the father figure type aspect. So I'm excited to see that grow.
Yeah. And like Jaiden mentioned, when we see Joel just going ham on the soldier and Ellie's there in the background, like her face is lit up like that he's killing this guy basically. But when we see, Joel being violent in the prologue and Sarah is just mortified. Like, the difference between their reactions and just kind of the change in situation. Obviously, Joel has learned from his mistakes, I guess, and he needs to be a protector. And I think we're going to see a lot of that in the show, and I'm very excited about it. Definitely. Another thing I want to touch on is what you guys think the deal with Ellie is. Obviously, we see her and Marlene talking, and she explains a bit about the backstory, kind of, but not too much to kind of tell you what's going on. And we see, at the end of the episode, there's something going on with Ellie. What do you guys think because I've played the game, obviously, I know what happens. I know what the deal is. What do you guys think is going to happen to Ellie? What do you guys think, how has this happened to her? How does this affect her life? And where are we going to see her end up? CJ, I'll throw it to you first.
I think Ellie's obviously one of the main characters of the show, but I think she's going to be the key to how the show evolves and ends, because clearly she got the disease or whatever it is and she survives. She said the thing that people don't survive 1 hour, I survived 3 weeks or whatever. So I'm excited to see how that progresses, and her attitude is phenomenal. I don't know, she's still pretty young to have that attitude, but I'm just obsessed. So clearly she probably has some trauma. I'm excited to dive into her backstory a little bit more. I'm obsessed with Ellie. Bella was great. I can't wait to see where she takes the character next couple of episodes.
Yeah. Jaiden, what about you?
No, I agree. And I agree with some of what Laila was saying earlier about like having quotes from the actual game and having that in the actual series. Like I think this was more part of like what's to come. It was like a little snippet of him saying like, oh, let's just keep our histories, to ourselves, and, we'll just get through this and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. I think they're definitely going to jump into it. I think Ellie is, like CJ said, the key to unlocking everything that's supposed to happen in this. And moving forward, she's going to be a massive part in whatever adventure that they're embarking on currently.
Yeah, I like that. Another thing or another character I just want to praise for like a few minutes straight is Tommy Miller. Gabriel Luna kills it as Tommy. I don't know if you guys have even seen clips of him of the game. Jaiden, obviously you will have done if you sat through some gameplay. But his portrayal of Tommy, as soon as I heard a clip of him in the trailer for the show, I was like, that is literally Tommy speaking from the game. Like, I was just in shock. And in the show, we see a bit more of his relationship with Sarah. And we don't really get much of that. And it just made the story more heartbreaking. But I'm definitely just excited to see more Tommy. I think Gabriel's going to kill it. Him and Pedro could be brothers in real life, as they wanted to be. What do you guys think about this casting? And how do you think Tommy's story is going to play out? Do you have any theories about how his character could come into it in the future? What do you think is going to happen there? Jaiden, what do you think?
So again, I did see, like, I pretty much watched the entire, at least first part. So I don't want to give like too much away, but I do want to say I love Tommy. I love Tommy in this episode, but I also love him in the game, like the gameplay that I saw. And like Laila said, those two, like, it's like literally like they're the same person. He did it very well. And just kind of adapting to like the specific situation, I think that was really cool on his part.
Yeah. CJ, what do you think of Tommy?
I love Gabriel Luna. I loved him in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm excited. I'm so excited he's getting this big spotlight and people are talking about how awesome he is in this because he deserves it so much. I love Tommy in this episode. I have no idea what happens with Tommy. I assume he's still alive. They kind of alluded towards that. So I'm excited for him and Joel to cross paths again. I think it has to happen at some point. I feel like it definitely will. Probably sooner rather than later. So I'm excited to see where that goes.
Nice. So before we kind of wrap this up, I just want to know, what was your favorite moment of the show? Who was your favorite character? What got you the most like amped up for this episode? What did you enjoy watching the most? And CJ, I'll throw it to you first. What do you think? What was your favorite part?
So I alluded to this earlier, but the ending of the episode with Pedro beating up the police officer and the lightning striking and it flashing and lighting up his face and then going to the zoom out of the city where they're headed, where it's just destroyed with the song, all the vibes, it just had me ready to go. I'm so excited for next week's episode. I cannot wait.
Yeah. Jaiden, what about you? What was your favorite part?
So it's not, I mean, this definitely isn't my favorite part, but I think it's the part that set the tone for, and showed me kind of what I was supposed to expect moving forward from this, because literally from the jump, ever since, like, literally from the first few minutes of this, like, pandemic starting, it was just all hell breaking loose. And eventually, of course, Sarah passes, and that right there, that gut punch is what I feel like set the tone for the show and set me on a path of, okay, this is going to get really dark, really scary, and I'm going to cry multiple times every episode. And that's just what I'm going to expect now. But weirdly enough, I like those emotional moments, and I like having those emotions flowing through my body as I watch, a show. So.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Jaiden there. Just seeing the portrayal of that scene between, Sarah and Joel, and just the intro to where we just see them being a family. Like, I loved that. We didn't get a lot of that in the game, and seeing more of that just made the loss of Sarah so much more powerful. And like Jaiden said, just the lead up to that, the planes crashing, the car crashes, and just the action in that scene where they're just riding through town and all the people running and screaming. It was so hard to watch because you were like, wow, like, this is terrifying. And like, you had to put yourself in that situation. Like, imagine that just happening, like, in your town. Crazy. But I definitely love that part. And I'm such like I love a good cry to a show, like, I love a show that just wrecks me. So that first kind of 20 minutes was just perfect for me. And when Ellie first came into that episode and Bella started acting as Ellie, I was like, that is my Ellie. Like, the attitude that girl has, I was just in awe, and I'm just so excited to see where she takes her, because Ellie has some incredible moments in the game, and just getting ready to see those. And leading on to my next question, what are you guys, I'm guessing we've all seen the trailers and kind of like maybe the preview to the season. What kind of snippet have you seen in a trailer that you're most excited to see play out, or you're most intrigued to see play out? CJ, I'll pass that to you.
I'm going to go with seeing the clickers in their full form. I'm excited to see them. They look terrifying. They look great, and they're going to scare the crap out of me, but I'm just so ready for it. I cannot wait to see more of them in this show.
Yeah. Dan, what about you? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, just to piggyback off what CJ said there, I don't know if this is correct, but it looked like there's almost like a higher up clicker, like he's like this big, massive, big brain dude, and that looks pretty scary, pretty disgusting, but also pretty cool. I think seeing those, like him face off with Joel, is going to be an epic event. Like that, just seeing those two together on the same screen is going to be nuts.
Yeah, definitely. So in the game, you kind of collect a poster, and it tells you kind of the 4 stages of infected. So you have, like the runner. So that is when they're just newly infected and they're still kind of aware, and they just run at you and try to eat you. And then you have the clicker, and that is where they are blind, but they kind of they hear you coming. So you can like sneak past them in the game and stuff, but they're terrifying. And then the big boy is a bloater, and that is the big, massive one where you can just tell it's been there for like years. And they're terrifying in the game, and they're so hard to kill. Like, they're just these massive things, and they're terrifying to look at. So I'm definitely excited to see, because I remember we got kind of like a preview trailer, and then we got a full official trailer, and that was the first time we saw a bloater in live action. And I was just sat jaw on the floor, because they look incredible. Like, the set design and like and it's practically, most of it is like practical effects. Like, if you've seen some behind the scenes pictures, it's practical effects, and I'm just in awe. Like, they need all the awards for making that possible because everything just looks beautiful.
It looks crazy good.
It's
100%,
insane. Yeah. And another thing I'm very excited for is just the dynamic between Joel and Ellie, obviously. But in the trailer, we kind of see a scene between Joel, Ellie, and Tess, where Ellie's kind of being a bit jokey around them, and they're just like, don't do that. You're not funny. So I'm very excited to see kind of that kind of like parent-child dynamic play out. But yeah, episode 1 was amazing. I'm so excited for the next 8 weeks to be covering this with you guys. And yeah, I think that will wrap up our The Last of Us talk, unless there's anything else you guys want to add.
Nothing for me. Great episode.
No?
Can't wait for the next few weeks.
It'll be a lot of fun.
So, yeah, definitely. As we are recording this tonight, or maybe last night, as you listen to this comes out on Tuesday, we are getting a Mandalorian Season 3 trailer. It is confirmed to be coming out tonight. We don't know if it's going to be a full trailer with lots of new footage or just like new snippets. What do you guys want to see in this trailer? It comes out in maybe like a month and a half, maybe 6 weeks, which is crazy because it's been so long and I'm very excited. CJ, what do you want to see in the Mandalorian Season 3 trailer today?
So by heart, I'm a wrestling fan. And in the last season of The Mandalorian, we met Costa Reeves, who is Mercedes Varnado. You do not know her. Sasha Banks, formerly known from WWE. I want to see her back. I love her so much. I need her back with Bo-Katan for Bo-Katan's villain arc. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see this trailer. And I want to see more of Mandalore too, because I'm excited to go back to Mandalore.
Yeah. Jaiden, what about you? What do you want to see in this trailer?
I am so excited to explore Mandalore. I feel like that's one of, like, even in like when I was watching the Clone Wars, like the animated series, I love, like, even just being in that environment. I loved it. Every episode with Mandalore was so sick. So seeing that in live action, being all destroyed and Mando having to go back and kind of, earn his name back, that's going to be really cool. But for this trailer, I just want to see Grogu again. I just want to see Grogu again. I miss his little face. I miss his little face so much.
I agree. I just want to see some more father-son content, They're my favorite.
Literally.
We saw them get reunited in Book of Boba Fett. This is the first time in the Mandalorian show we're seeing them back together after them being separated in the season 2 finale. I just want to see them being besties again. I'm also very biased, but I want to see Cobb Vanth and I want to see Din and Cobb together, preferably kissing on the lips, but I don't think that's going to happen. Just side by side again, just taking over places together. That's all I want to see. And it would be very cool to see that.
My favorite space boyfriends.
Exactly. There we go. Get them back together.
This is just Pedro's father era.
Literally for like the first like
I can handle it.
For the first 5 months of 2023, like this is all we're getting. Like you're never gonna hear the end of it from me. This is my year. This is Pedro's year. This is our year. Period. That's it. But I think this will conclude episode 2 of the Fandom Academy. Make sure you're following the Fandom Academy on all socials and hit the notification bell so you can keep up to date with all of our content. You can find all of the Agents of Fandom podcast network shows on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. We have the Agents of Fandom podcast. We have Ticket to Reality. We now have The Critic. And we have Fandom Academy. Obviously, here we are. And Listen 3000. The great guys at Listen 3000. Make sure you're going listening to all of those. You can shop our collection at aofandom.com. And we have a special guest joining us next week to cover episode 2 of The Last of Us. We will be joined by Kai Likes Movies. If you don't follow him, make sure you do. He covers some great content. I'm very excited to be breaking down episode 2 with him next week. Guys, where can the people find you? Jaiden, plug yourself. Off you go.
Yeah, so you can find me, Jaiden.cmduran, on pretty much any form of social media. There, new movies, throwing up content. Not as regular now because I have a full-time job, unfortunately. But yeah, I'll be posting as much as I can.
Nah, CJ, what about you? Where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at CJDart_. Well, where next Sunday at 9 p.m. EST here in the States, I will be live tweeting The Last of Us episode 2, hopefully with you guys. And if you follow me, we can do it together. So go give me a follow over there.
Nice. And you can find Agents of Fandom on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and YouTube. Anywhere. Find us somewhere. And obviously follow the Fandom Academy so you can keep up to date with us. I am on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd at FalconsNat. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us for episode 2. I hope everyone has enjoyed The Last of Us, and I'm very excited to be covering it with you guys. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.
Of course, see you guys later.